Hello guys, Adanatasima here, and today we are having one of the most long-awaited videos for 5 years of our YouTube channel. Because today, after almost 20 years, we are finally meeting one of the coolest antagonists of Need for Speed Most Wanted, and we are going to ask him a few questions that have been troubling all of us for the past 20 years. Please welcome guys, Derek Hamilton or Razor. Hi Derek, how are you?
Привет, это бритва.
First of all, on behalf of our massive audience, I want to say a huge thank you for agreeing to this interview. Honestly, I never thought that after so many years we'd be taken directly to a hero of our childhood games. If you remember in the last video where you showed up in your Nissan 350Z, I mentioned that anyone could ask you a question. And it turns out that our 20 years, quite a few questions have piled up. With really many questions. We'll pick the most interesting ones. You have been in quite a few movies and TV shows now, many of which have even won awards, like The Shark and Rabbit. But let's go back to 2005 year, when you didn't have as much experience in films and suddenly you got an offer to play one of the main characters in a video game.
Holy shit.
Tell us, what was that like?
I see, yeah. It was interesting. I had been, it's kind of cloudy because it was a long time ago. But I had just, I believe I had just finished or had just started maybe the film Out Cold. I believe it was just after Out Cold. And I had played a very zany and wild character in that a snowboarding comedy. I had played a stoner basically, and it was a comedy. It was a lot of fun. Zach Galifianakis was in it and we played brothers. So coming off of that role, it was interesting to go in and audition for this guy who was, you know, a tough street racer, a criminal, basically a bad man. And I remember the casting agent was a guy named Al Abel, really cool guy. We become friends over the years, but it was the first time I had ever auditioned for a motion capture, and it was motion and performance. So he told me this guy is a bad guy, you know, he's a street racer, and you know, everything you do, you need to move big on green screen, right? The motions can't be like in film where I'm talking like this to someone. They want it big. So I went back to when I was a little boy. I lived in front of an arena and there was a wrestling production that would travel around, not WWF wrestling, but a smaller organization. And they had these bad guys, the heels in wrestling, Killer Carl Krupp and the Cuban Assassin and these guys. And I would go watch them as a little boy. And everything they did was so big and in your face and aggressive. So I based a lot of Razor on that, on somebody who, you know, even when he says something nice to you, it has a little twist of meanness to it, you know, a little twist of, I'm going to get you. I'm going to take what you have. And I put that together and I mixed it with me and I went into the room and I performed the audition. And I remember on my way home getting a call from Al and he said, "Hey man, you got this." So that was my little tip from him that I had had a good audition. And a couple of days later, I found out I booked the role. And then we went into 9 days of shooting. It was a lot of fun.
The character Clarence Callahan or Razor. Who came up with this character in the first place? And who came up with his mannerisms, his way of behaving or speaking? Or were those all your ideas?
With most roles in film, when they hire an actor, they get you to, you know, they hire you first and foremost, I think, because you sort of embody, you know, you embody the essence of what they see that character is. And, you know, a good director, and we had a good director, I mean, David Footman, and we had Habib Zargapur, who was the senior creative VFX guy. And, you know, we had some really talented people working on that outside of the actual cast. And, you know, they let me go. They wound me up and they let me go and asked me to create this guy. They gave me some dialogue, not a lot of dialogue in the beginning. There wasn't a ton of dialogue, but, you know, there were lines that they needed me to say, but it was such a long amount of shots, you know, like they, maybe you've seen online, they had a world set up and they had toy cars, like Hot Wheels cars. And the director and Habib and myself, they would have those cars and he would move the car. He would say, a car is going to come in here and the other car will turn here. And you will walk out from here and circle around and you come to here. And then this guy will get out and come to here. So it was very technical. They didn't have a lot of time to say, when you need to say this line and that line. They would say, Habib would say, could you do something razory, do something that's razorish, say something razory. So I said a lot of stuff that probably would never made it, but a lot of the things I said did make it, as well as all of the lines that they wrote made it. And together we created this character who I believe in the beginning was named Snake. When I first read through it for that audition, his name I think was going to be Snake, and they may have changed that before production. Yeah, if I remember that correctly. But so how much of me did I bring to it? I brought a lot of me to it, but I bring a lot of me to every role that I do. I find who I want to base it on. I find characteristics that I think are cool, and then I mix them up with who I am. And you create a person and you present them, and you hope that it works. That's it.
Maybe are there any photos or materials that have been kept that the Need for Speed audience has never seen before?
Um, no, not that I can recall. I mean, I'd have to look back over a lot of years to see old photos. You got to remember back then there was, there was none of this, right? Didn't exist. So, photos would have been a hard click. They took a lot. They did take a lot, and I'm sure that EA has a lot. I know Habib Zargapur does have a lot of stuff, and he said he was going to send me some. I actually spoke with him before I did this interview. I thought I'd give him a call and just reminisce about, what it was like working together. And yeah, he did give me a few tidbits, but and he said he was going to send me a couple of photos that he does have. But I don't have anything. No.
Did you play Need for Speed Most Wanted yourself? After all, the main rivals in the game is you.
Back when it first came out, I definitely got together with a bunch of my friends and we had a few beers and had a lot of laughs and played the game. Definitely back when it first came out. For a little while. Yeah, we gave it a try. It was a lot of fun. One more thing. I have two sons and they're both gamers. They love playing. And of course they play, the other games, they haven't gotten into the racing games yet. But my one son is just getting his driver's license. And actually that car that I used in that video I sent you, you said it was my car. That was actually my son's car because I drive trucks now, a lot of trucks, and I have the BMW, the X5M that I use as the grocery getter. But that little car belonged to my son. So I'm thinking that they're going to get into the racing games, and maybe we'll go on. Maybe I'll go back and give it a try and see if the old dog can learn some new tricks. They look like a lot of fun. What do you guys think? Should I jump on, what is it called? Twitch? Is that what it's called, where everybody plays? Or I guess in Need for Speed, you can just log in and you're playing with the whole community. Is that right?
I know you currently own a modern Dodge Ram and BMW, but what cars did you have before?
In my lifetime, I've had a lot of vehicles, man. I remember my first car, actually the first car I ever bought with my own money when I was 17. I remember I worked all summer, man, busting my ass, made a few bucks, and I bought a Monte Carlo, a 76 Monte Carlo.
Oh.
And it had a big old motor in it, man. You'd hear me coming. I loved that car. That was my first vehicle. And then I went through a lot after that. I mean, after that, I got into motorbikes and I had a couple of Harleys, a couple of big Harley Davidsons. I drove those for a lot of years. Then I traded one of those Harleys for a 1965 Pontiac Acadian 283 with a 4-speed on the floor, and it could burn, man. I loved that car. Sometimes we would take it down to the track. There's a track in New Brunswick that you could do quarter-mile runs in, and we would run that. It didn't have a huge motor, but it had a lot of pickup fast. You want more cars that I've had? I've had a lot, man. I've had a lot of vehicles, I've had a big old Caddy. I've had a Lincoln. Stinking Lincoln. I loved that car. Mint green, all leather interior. Boom. I've had a lot of trucks, you know, lots of stuff, man. That's what life is, you know, as you get older, your cars, you get one and you think I'm going to have this car forever, but eventually another one comes along and you move on, you know. What do you drive, Victor?
So my favorite car that I own now is a Ford truck F-150, and my first car was a Chrysler Sebring convertible.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
And now I own these two cars.
Um, you know, when I lived in LA, my first big check that I got from a show, I went out and did the thing that all poor boys who end up getting a little bit of money in their pocket in their 20s ends up doing, and I dropped it all on a car. And I bought myself the Monte Carlo Intimidator. The if you look that car up later, I mean, and you'll have a laugh, man. But I drove that for a while too, and it was a lot of fun.
At first I want to ask you about the game to choose between BMW and Mustang, but after hearing your story I think that Mustang probably holds a special place in your heart.
They're both cool cars, man. But I've said this before. I'm going to repeat myself. The the BMW for handling, right? Like, when you're driving the BMW, you're flying in a Beamer, you're ripping around the turns. I mean, I live in a place where there's highways that go on forever and they go up the mountains, right? So they're big, twisty highways. When you're driving a BMW, I mean, you're part of the machine. You're hitting those turns. It's almost like being on a motorbike. But when you're driving a big motor car, like a Mustang with, 4 barrel, just pounding, that's like in your heart, you feel that here when you're driving it, you're flying through it. So, I mean, I think they both have a place. They both have a place with me. I can't pick one. I love them both.
Now, let's get to the serious questions that probably concern the entire Need for Speed audience who played the game in 2005. If you remember, at the beginning of the story Mia called us and said you did something to our car, after which it broke down. Tell us, why did you break our BMW?
The BMW.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think I did it?
Maybe you probably doubted that you could beat her in your Mustang.
In the game, Razor, I'm going to tell you something right now, okay? I've never said this. But what makes you so sure that Razor did that? What makes you so sure that Razor had anything to do with that? Maybe someone else did that. Maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, right? Maybe Mia told Ronnie to do that. Huh? How else are you going to infiltrate the baddest underground street racing crew that exists? Why would I need to cheat?
So, today we have a shock content. We find out that it wasn't Razor who broke that BMW. That's awesome.
Hey, I'm just saying, maybe I didn't do it. How else would she get her claws into somebody? She worked you guys like a spinning top. She had you guys like a spinning top working for her.
Okay, then reveal an hour secret for us. During the cutscene shoots on set there was an hour person, the main character, but we always see him from behind. Tell us who it was. Reveal the secret.
Yeah, I've been asked that question a lot. I mean, I love the mythology of it. I really do. I love the urban myth of who that character was. And I think we should just leave it at that. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So, when tell please about our actors from a game. How were they on set? Maybe you talked to Cross, Dean McKenzie and ours. Do you still keep in touch with them?
Mm-hmm. I've seen the director David at Footman over the years. I mean, he's a great guy and is such a talent. And Habib Zargapur, as I've mentioned, I've worked with him again after the game. We've worked on other projects. Both really talented guys, behind the scenes guys. Frank Vitz, I know I've bumped into him. A lot of the behind the scenes people, on camera people. One of the Flay girls' name, it was Jen Bird. I remember her in the when we worked together. I knew her from before, so we had a lot of laughs. Paul and Kevin. Paul, I haven't seen in years. Kevin, I've seen, and I've seen his work. Very talented actor, and Dean McKenzie also. I mean, we had a lot of laughs on set. Super talented guy. Simone Bailey. She has her own thing going on, music and podcasts and everything. Another super talented person. And Josie, of course, that's who I worked the most with, was Josie. The other people, I mean, it was just like a day here, a day there, but I was there, I believe it was 9 days, and Josie and me were on set for the whole thing. And she was cool. We had a lot of laughs. I remember she was into magic back then, so she was trying to perform magic tricks that her boyfriend had taught her. I believe she was dating a fairly well-known magician at the time, and so that was interesting, hearing some backstories about that magic world. And haven't stayed in touch with really any of them as far as close friends go, but as peers that you bump into along the line, they're all cool people, and the game would have never been what it was hadn't they all been part of it. I mean, the casting, it all goes back to casting, and the casting of that game really created a moment that none of us could have imagined would have carried on for this long. Yeah. And made such an iconic car that we never got to see, right? None of us saw that car until the game came out. We didn't know what that car was going to be. Get to go to Germany and see it in real life. That was a big moment for me, to see that car that, at the time it was me just sitting on a box holding a hoop.
In the comments, many people are saying that it's been years and the actor from a game have changed quite a bit, but Razor still looks like he is ready to take someone down and steal their car. It's like that spark of an underground racer from Rockport is still there. And yes, we are right, I need. You are 52 now, but when you recorded that video clip with Nissan 350Z for our channel, I was blown away by how well the role fits you, as if that young racer, hungry for revenge and reclaiming the title of King of a Blacklist, had returned. How you do it? And are you ready to take part in a race today?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, I'm always ready, man. I keep myself in shape. It's like iron sharpens iron, right? So I don't get comfortable ever. So I keep going, man. I work out, I stay sharp, I do many different things. I raise my family, and I keep on going. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm ready. I'm always ready. Are you ready?
Yes, man, we're ready. Back when we were in school, we all hated Razor for his arrogant behavior. However, a year ago we released a cinematic that shows you story from a different perspective, one that could have happened before the main events of the game. In it, you just like any ordinary person face a choice and are willing to take risks to become the best. Since when, many viewers have grown to appreciate your character and would love to see a continuation of Most Wanted with you in the main role.
That's a great idea. That's interesting. That's a real interesting idea. Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
And tell us about your emotions when you saw our video.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember the morning I saw it. It was somebody sent it to me, and I clicked play, and yeah, it was real, it's cinematic. It had a very cinematic feel, You did a really good job of taking different aspects of different shows and putting them all together. It's the fan created stuff that people do and that I get. It always floors me how creative the Need for Speed community is. And you took it to a whole other level. I mean, that was like I said in a comment, I believe, I can only imagine the hours that you put behind your work and what you do. Do you play video games, Victor?
Of course.
I don't know when you would have time. When would you have time to play video games?
Actually, it happens very rarely because I work a lot and most of my content is based on old games and memories from the times when I could afford to play much more often. For this reason, I still haven't played Need for Speed Unbound with your update, but I promise I will get to it soon. We all know you as an actor, but I understand that besides acting, you also have your own company. What brings you more satisfaction? You work in the film industry or you work in a company?
Again, to define yourself And any of you guys out there who are younger guys, this is something you'll find out. But anybody my age and older knows this, that if you're defined by what you do, you're not going to find the magic that you are. We all have. I have many interests and I do many things, I mean, I love the outdoors. I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. I'm in the woods a lot. Um, I run a masonry company. I own a masonry business where we do brick and block and stonework, and it's all high end artistic installs. We'll do complete house wraps in stone. Hammering rocks with hammers and chisels, and I got a crew of guys that are all just amazing workers. We do interior, exterior work there. It's creative. Your mind is always thinking of different things, right? Things are coming in and moving through. It's like a filter. The good stuff goes through it and keeps on moving, right? Keep it in the ether. So yeah, and film and acting, that's a blast. I've written and I've produced things. Rabbit is one of the things that I was blessed to have gotten to work with a great writer director named Jesse Miller and Ken Johns and Andy Holmes, and those guys, produced this film that we all made together. That was such a creative time and a turbulent time, right? Because when you have that many people creating together, sometimes it can cause friction. But those moments, those moments only come if you're open to being part of a whole bunch of things, not being defined by one thing, right? So my lines are always in the water, man. When I see something I'm interested in, something that sparks me a little bit, I go after it. So which do I like better? I like it all. I want it all.
Actually, Derek, not everyone decided to ask you questions. Some just wanted to share their wishes, and I will read out a few of them now. Dear Derek, thank you very much for a happy childhood. I wish you and your family all of the best. Next comment. There was suggested many great questions to Derek. That's why on behalf of all fans I would just really like to thank you for being such an important part of our childhood. And to wish you success in everything. And please don't unscrew the oil cap again. Say hi from us 30, 40 years old men, who 20 years ago we binge playing this game and were always ready to fight with a razor. You did so well in the acting. And I understand that this game is always remembered in such a nice way. Never because of the graphics or sound effects or anything like that, but because this game is a memory from our childhood, and turning on the game we get back to the times when we didn't need to solve any problems or earn living, and the future seemed to be so far away.
Wow. Wow. Hey. Well, hey guys, and to all of you, I'm so blessed to have been a part of it, and I'm glad that if I gave any of you even 5 minutes of peace and of happiness as a child, I'm glad that I could have done that, and I'm just play it forward, man. You do for someone else, make them happy. That's life.
And finally, I'd like to touch on an event that happened last month. You attended an exhibition in Munich where they showcased the very same BMW M3 GTR. But they didn't let you sit in it. Why? Are they afraid you might steal it?
Wouldn't you be?
Of course.
I was told that it's just one of their rules there, that nobody is allowed inside of any of the cars in that museum. It was unfortunate, but hey, I gave the Need for Speed community what they asked for. They asked me to get a photo with that car, and that was the whole reason I went, man. I went over there. I was asked, I probably had 2,000 DMs from people saying it would be like a childhood dream to see you, the real Razor, standing next to the real car. I mean, how many other opportunities would there be for that? So I thought, if I can give someone a little smile for that, why not? And I wanted to see the car too. So I did it, but I was floored, man. Over 3,000 people came through over 2 days.
Mm.
It's a mob. And I named it the Blacklist Mob. And it was cool, man. I was surrounded just by the Blacklist mob, so much love for racing and for cars and for gaming and all of that together. It was a cool moment.
So, after everything I saw there, I came up with a great idea. On behalf of our Russian-speaking, English-speaking and global community, I'd like to invite you to visit us next year. And I guarantee that if you come, you'll be blown away by how many fans of the game will be happy to see you. But most importantly, you'll get behind the wheel of that very same BMW again. The one our friend Kostya built the car that made you the king of the Blacklist back in the day. By the way, next year marks the 20th anniversary of game release.
Yeah, well, you know what I say? What I always say is, where do you guys want to see me next? Where? Is that it? Because Razer got your back, man. You never know. Russia? Love to see Russia.
Now that's a great teaser for a new storyline in the game.
Razer goes to Russia?
And we'll teach you how to play in Balalaika.
Yeah, okay. Hey, you know, Victor, I just thought of something that you know, you asked me about some stuff from Need for Speed back in the day. One thing I was told by Habib, and I found it quite interesting, is that you know, the airport scene. There was initially an airport scene, and it was taken out of the game. And I believe you had mentioned one time about how there's some audio in the beta version about that. That was removed just because of time constraints, right? I mean, so much was going into the making of that game, and it was all new technology back then, very new, and they were putting stuff together. So they didn't have the time to get the game out and still have that airport in there. But it wasn't just an airport. They also were working on an alpine. There was going to be a mountains all around Rockport, and there was going to be a part where you go up into the alpine. Wouldn't have that been cool?
It was done in Need for Speed Carbon, when we were racing through the canyon, right?
Perhaps they just slid it over, but initially that was going to be in Most Wanted. So there's a little trivia.
That's why we didn't see drifting in Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Maybe. I don't have the answer to that, but maybe.
Anyway, thank you so much for this amazing, heartfelt interview. It really means a lot to me, especially because I'm from a small town and connection with an actor from my childhood is truly incredible. After 5 years of work I realized it wasn't in vain, and today is the result of all of that.
Cool, man. It's never wasted, bro. You're creating something. It's never wasted. Good work.
I hope we'll meeting again more at once, maybe at your place, maybe at ours, however it goes, and we'll do something truly incredible together.
Okay. You never know. It was great talking with you too, man. I know you've been asking for a long time to do this, and I had to keep pushing it, but you know, I always do what I say I'm gonna do. So there you go, brother. We'll talk to you guys down the road. Enjoy the day, guys. We'll see you around.
To all our viewers, thank you for watching this video, it truly meant a lot to us. Be sure to share your emotions in the comments, and of course, leave as many likes as possible to convince Derek to visit us. That's all for today. This was Adonata Cinema, see you later.
See you down the road.
It's like force pull up, Air Force put up, automatic wrist it, Air Force shook up, causing a third. Every time I push up, 007 with a gesture and a look up.
Yeah, Derek, I completely forgot to ask, how much do we owe you for this interview?
$5 grand.
What?
$5 grand.